Hello and welcome to This Week in WCPW. I'm Adam, joined as always by General Manager Adam Blompier, and this week joined by General Stooge, Jack.
Assistant General Manager.
Assistant to the General Manager.
I was hoping you'd do that. You've got it. There we go.
There you go. Stewie, out it goes, out of sight.
Hey guys, welcome.
Hey.
Lots to discuss. A lot of people have been asking for this for a few weeks now. Obviously, we had a fairly hectic schedule.
Yes, it was a busy week and then a recovery week. And now we're back.
5 shows, 5 cities, 5 days. First of all, from you guys, how much did you enjoy it? Let's take away the tiredness. How much was it an enjoyable experience? Because obviously WCPW normally we do maybe 2 shows at max.
Yeah, I think the longest we'd ever done before that was 3.
Yeah, 3.
And that was tough. It was really hard. Really rewarding because I think it was probably the greatest run of shows that we'd done. It's certainly climaxed with the World Cup final, which was huge and like a culmination of many months' work, which is great. But I wouldn't want to do it again.
I want to do it every week.
No, it was tough. I had my birthday right in the middle, so that added a bit of spice and a bit of choppy. Yeah, that was fun. But yeah, it was a good week all told. What do you think, Jack?
I agree largely. It was hard, but it was fun. I think it was more fun looking back than it was at the time. There was always stuff going on.
We're blessed with a very good locker room.
Yeah.
Like if we had a locker room that was more kind of politicky and kind of more fractious, then it would have been hell. But our roster is made up of legends.
And it was basically the same group of people for pretty much 5 days, like you say, across the board, aside from, obviously Rey Mysterio was only there for a couple of shows.
Yep.
Jack Swagger turned up on the Saturday. But generally... The Briscoes, yeah, of course. Generally, yeah, like you say, the same group of people. It's so nice for us to be all sort of pulling in the same direction. And it was a lot of fun for myself.
You really got to know Adam Pacitti over the course.
I did indeed. I was sharing a room with Mr. Pacitti, and we were travelling pretty much every day, I think, with the wrestlers to and from the shows. And
who's your favourite?
Who's my favourite wrestler?
Who's our favourite of our locker room? Personally, not in the ring.
Okay. Ooh, personally,
he wasn't even there.
Yeah, Moose wasn't there, so I can't mention him. I think Alex Gracie was very friendly to me for most of the shows. Gabe was lovely. We did a lot of filming and he helped out with that as well. So it was nice.
Gabe's great.
It was nice to work with people.
Who's your
like
least favourite?
Least favourite?
Who you got heat with?
Who have I got heat with?
Who's got heat with you? Sorry, who's got heat with you? Who do you really not like?
Who'd you slap in the face if you saw them again?
Who did you make change in the corridor? Get out of the locker room.
Whose bag did I? No. No, they were all absolutely lovely, and I'm not going to get myself into any trouble with anyone by suggesting.
Liar.
So, but I'm sure the comment section will be rife with suggestions.
I heard that there were several games of Mafia on their bus.
Indeed.
And I heard that Ricochet was very into the very loud Mafia flavor.
Well, I suppose that's the thing for us. When the show finishes, we're sort of that's the end. Yeah,
you go away immediately after that. We clear up, like take the screen down, take the ring down.
We're looking really hench now because of all that.
Yeah, we're wider in the shoulders than we used to be. Because I noticed that you are as still as ever.
Yeah.
Because you and Adam Pacitti, who also is on the gangly side, decided to hop in the bus with all the talent and just get the hell out of...
If the bus has got to go, it's got to go, mate. Right. It's out of my hands.
I heard the drivers were a bit...
Oh, yeah.
Go on, tell the text story.
Oh, the text story was my favourite. So obviously, wrestling shows aren't exactly, as much as they can be timed as with TV wrestling, there's a bit of leeway. And especially like what time are you going to leave, it's not that simple. It's not like a play, for example, where usually it kicks out at the same time every night. It varies. Sometimes people want to get checked over after a match or whatever, and especially if they're last off to make them go, right, get your stuff and let's jump on the bus. So that's understandable. No other wrestlers kick off if they're being forced to wait a little bit longer. Obviously, none of the crew do. Unfortunately, obviously, some coach drivers are used to different kinds of jobs, let's say. And one of them may have texted senior official Steve Linsky slagging him off. You know, when you go to say something, say if I was slagging you off to Jack,
Right.
because I'm talking about you so much, I might accidentally write that message to you.
Yes.
That's what happened.
You sent a text to the person the text was about.
Yes,
as
he
David
said.
Doherty would say.
He basically said these bunch of guys, these wrestlers think they're so great. They think they're so, you know, they're better than me, or they think they can mess me about. I might as well leave these
Wankers
behind. And sent that to Steve, who wasn't best pleased, strangely enough, and immediately showed it to the rest of the locker room. And yeah,
Was that a frosty bus ride?
Yeah, if you want to talk about getting heat, it's more about the bus driver than me and Pachi whatsoever.
Apparently, once on one trip, Zack Sabre Jr. was really tired because he's a wrestler, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, pulled the curtain over himself to get a bit of sleep.
No, it wasn't even pull the curtain over himself. So we got some, to be fair, very nice coaches.
Right.
And this one was, I think, brand new or was new that week, let's say. It wasn't on the same coach every day. But anyway, nice coach. He even had like little USB things that you could charge your phone in the seat. Absolutely lovely. And the wrestlers, as much as there are many stories about what wrestlers get up to on coaches, were nice as pie. And especially when they're travelling to a show, they're not all that jazzed up. All they want to do is get a bit of shut-eye, because when it all kicks off is basically from when they arrive at the arena.
Yeah.
So we're on this coach. We're all just settled in. We're waiting to leave. We want to get... I can't remember where we were going. We might have been going to Sheffield or to Newcastle. It was one of the last shows. And this bus driver got on and basically berated us like we were a group of teenage school children, saying, like, guys, this is a new bus. Don't mess about with it. Don't put your feet on the seats, which none of the guys were doing. Half of them were asleep because we just got on the bus and they can, you know, they're sort of trained to be able to just sleep in any place at any time. And yeah, Zach had pulled a curtain across to block the sunlight out so he'd get from shut-eye. And the bloke said, can you stop messing with the curtains, please? And he said, Zach was very diplomatic for someone who's been very busy, was, as you say, tired. Said, I'm not messing with them. I just want to go to sleep. And he said, the curtains aren't to be used. They're just for show, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard anyone say.
Decorative open curtains.
They're purely decorative curtains. And
Dumb that.
I think if that had been after the show, we might have seen a different side to Zach. But he was absolutely lovely. And that was the biggest challenge we faced. What was the biggest challenge that you guys faced over those 5 days?
I'd just loved if the bus driver had gone like, look, you're not even... I know you've recently lost the PWG championship. You're not even that good anymore, mate.
You're not even Zach 3 belts anymore.
Yeah.
Mate. Biggest challenge was keeping track of the continuity. Because, as you know, Loaded is pre-taped and the World Cup is live. We were mixing Loaded tapings with World Cup live shows, which meant having to get the timings exactly right was tricky. We didn't always manage it. Some of the shows went up a little bit late. But what was even more tricky, and like not just tricky for us, but tricky for the commentators especially, Bradshaw and Kennedy did really well, considering that pretty much the big story leading out of the World Cup is the fact that the Prestige ruined it and got into massive heat with Ospreay. We filmed that bit. That was literally the last thing we filmed, and that informed the entire month's tapings of Loaded. So having to film stuff without giving it away that Ospreay was going to be in the final, whilst also trying to punish the Prestige for what they did. It was really, really difficult.
I didn't realise. I was quite confused. So when you stormed out on stage in Manchester, and went, get the out of my ring, I was like,
which hasn't aired yet. But fair enough.
Well, he's right.
That is tomorrow.
Pompey is understandably cross at the Prestige. I was there like, where's this come from?
Where's it come from? That's come from, in 2 days' time, they were going to do a bad thing.
Right. We're assuming we're allowed to mention the order that we shot the Loadeds in.
Yeah.
So it was, obviously Tuesday was Just Stacked, the iPay-per-view in Leeds. Then Wednesday was the round of 16 in Milton Keynes.
Right.
Then Thursday in Manchester, we had the
quarterfinals and episodes episodes 2 and 3 of Loaded. Oh wait, maybe that has happened then. I can't remember.
Friday was episodes 4 and 5 of Loaded.
Yeah.
And Saturday was the World Cup semi-finals and final and episode 1 of Loaded.
It's like Pulp Fiction. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
It's really difficult. But we had to, because the World Cup was going out, like it had to be the main event of that show. We shot the episode 1 before the World Cup. So, yeah.
It was it's kind of like shooting Memento as the way you watch it, like just completely backwards.
Yeah.
But it works out, and as you say, props to the commentators because they did an absolutely stellar job commentating stuff that hadn't happened yet, but they had to reference and not mentioning stuff that had already happened but hadn't happened on Loaded, if that makes sense.
It doesn't.
No. So we talked about the challenges there. What was some of your highlights from those 5 days, whether it be from the World Cup, whether it be from Stacked, whether it be from Loaded?
Seeing Mike Bailey become the UK's favourite wrestler is brilliant. Like he's always like, it's not like we introduced the world to Mike Bailey, but like I wasn't completely like au fait with him just because he can't wrestle in America, and that's where a lot of the kind of the big indie
That's where the wrestling lives.
matches happen, you know. But he can wrestle over here, and my God, did he! Like the matches he put on for us in the space of 1 week, I don't think I've ever seen like such a concise catalogue of excellence.
Yeah, it was weird because I think might be when we were talking about the bracket cast. So this is months ago when we were sort of building up towards the World Cup actually starting. The guys who'd been to the Canada show were raving about him, and I'd watched videos of him online and thought he looks great. But whether he can string that, those spectacular moves into a match is a completely different thing. And as you say, not much of our audience knew a lot about him, so he'd get quite a welcoming reception, let's say, when he'd come out for each match, and he's lovely. And I think there was one shot, I can't remember which one it was, where whether someone dropped a drink or not necessarily threw a drink at him, regardless, a drink was heading towards him, and he volleyed it back into the audience perfectly. He got a great reaction then. But every show he got this welcoming reception, and at the end, guys just couldn't wait to see him again. Didn't want him to leave. Thought he had the best match of the night.
He put on matches with amazing matches with Kushida, Penta.
Osprey,
Banks, but Osprey's the one.
I thought you forgot.
No.
Yeah, I think the Bailey Osprey match, out of everything we had, including possibly the World Cup final, was my favourite match. My favourite match of the 5 days, possibly my favourite WCPW match I've ever seen live.
But for me, it was the stars of the tournament were Mike Bailey and Will Ospreay. No, absolutely no disrespect to. I mean, obviously, that tournament was crowned with some of the best wrestlers in the world. I thought Kushida every time he stepped in the rope. But there's something about, first of all, like you say, watching that journey of the crowd going from who is this nice-looking man to never leave, we love you, Mike Bailey, and also the hometown pride of watching Will Ospreay taking on the best in the world and putting on amazing matches. Like those factors made watching those guys in this tournament exceptional.
Also want to give a shout out to Ricochet because
of course.
I heard him say to various people backstage on various days, like, I'm just trying to make each match very different that I have in the tournament. So if we go through his matches, who did he have in the first round? He had Keith Lee in the second.
He had
in the USA qualifiers.
Yeah. It wasn't Lethal and Moose, or was it Matt Seidel?
It was Matt Seidel,
yes.
yeah.
So that was like a flippy one. Then the one with Keith Lee was Keith Lee hurling him
hitting the ceiling.
Pure David and Goliath.
Yes.
It was great.
Then he had a match with Angelico. That
Which
one
was more
was slightly
technical than
different.
I think a lot of people expected.
Well, that was deliberate. That was by design because he wants to do different matches with everyone. Then there was the one. There was the one with, who did he have in the quarterfinals?
Penta. Yeah.
Penta. That was Penta doing horrible things to him. And then the one with Osprey was really intriguing and one of my favourite matches of the tournament because it was just Ricochet dominating to the surprise of everyone the whole way. And then Osprey pulling out a shock win out of nowhere, like with a roll up.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And especially because Ricochet and Osprey, like, they've wrestled so many times now, and every single match they've had, not just for us, has been really different. And I just can't, like...
And it must be difficult with the expectation going into those sorts of matches.
It totally disproves people who say, well, they're flippy and they're really incredible athletes, but they can't tell stories. Osprey is one of the best wrestling storytellers I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
he's really ridiculously good.
Really
he's
good.
really good. It's insane how good he is, and he's only my age, younger. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
It's
he's
awful.
just 24, isn't he?
He's a younger 24 than I.
Can't talk about highlights of the tournament without talking about the shot return of Joseph Connors.
Oh, yes.
To an ovation, let's say.
Yes, that's the loudest pop I've ever heard for WCPW. In the middle of Milton Keynes, was just. I think we were all excited about it, and we all thought this is going to get a reaction, and obviously a good reaction. But the reaction we anticipated, or maybe the reaction we got, and it was so good to see a secret genuinely being kept from everyone else.
Yeah, arrived separately in his own car, hoodie on,
Makeup backstage.
But there was one point where we were outside the venue, and he poked his head out as some fans were walking past. Like 3 fans walked past, and he poked his head out and went, "Ooh, sorry," and came back inside. And James Dixon went, "You saw nothing," and I just thought, "Oh God!" Like, just why did you have to poke your head out there? But no, the response was amazing.
I nearly ruined it twice. I nearly ruined it first when we were trying to organise an interview with him, and I was going to tweet, "Anyone got any questions for Joseph Connors?" And the second time, I think we were doing some preview with the fans outside, and I was saying, like, "Who are you guys looking forward to seeing?" And I went to say, "How excited are you about the return of Joseph Connors?" Which would have been the biggest.
I mean, bravo.
Yeah. But I managed to stop myself just about. But yeah, the reaction to that. We'll talk more about the reaction. If you can, the main question I got tweeted when I was asking for questions for this, how on earth did that come about?
Ask a favour, you know. We ran into problems with the double booking of Michael Elgin. He was double booked with us and dates in CMLL. Couldn't get out of them. And we obviously, you know, we're trying to maintain this situation because obviously with us and New Japan and everything. And obviously this tournament's it's very much outside of, like we're working it into continuity, but it was very much its own thing. It's very kind of high profile, you know, and with that, like it was just a case of we approached WWE. And we thought, well, who can we at this late stage? And we are talking literally the week of the show. The week of the show is when Michael Elgin pulled out, and we thought, who can we replace him with? We tried all the guys from the Canadian qualifiers, and we couldn't get anyone at that late notice. So it was very much a case of, right, well, we can't get the Canadian. We can't do what we did in the Scottish qualifiers. Who can we add?
I'm assuming we inquired about the big Canadian.
Yes.
Did we?
Yes, believe it or not.
Wow, that would have been insane. But no, I'm not dumbing down, not like playing down Connors' return.
Well, no, ultimately, you want to replace a Canadian with a Canadian.
But
That was our top priority.
If Bret Hart had walked out.
Yeah. But and it was just it was a case of making an arrangement, making promises, making you know, we were given very specific instructions on, you know, like we'll give him to you, but if you know, basically we had a lot to prove. You know, relationship between us and WWE haven't always been rosy, but partially to do with the fact that Joseph Connors was part of a batch of guys that left us as a result of signing the contracts. And it was a case of, look, we wanted to mend bridges, and yeah, we were good to our word. We presented him in nothing but the positive light. He I was worried that people, because we were selling a lot of that show on Ospreay and Mysterio obviously will draw in a lot of casual fans, and we were worried that we wouldn't have the faithful response.
They weren't going to be like WCPW fans, more indie fans.
Yeah, the response proved otherwise, and it just, you know, I think Joseph Connors emerged from the World Cup looking better than he did going into it, and we got that reaction, so it was very much a win-win for both parties. So yeah, that's the case of how we got him.
You mentioned Mysterio Ospreay there. We should probably mention that as well, because, as you say, lots of people were looking forward to it as soon as we announced the brackets, let's say. How did you enjoy that match, and what did you think about the ending and the crowd reaction? Because I think that's one of those, outside of actual moves inside a ring, moments that will really stick in my head for a long time.
Genuinely saw fans crying.
Yeah.
Cleary mentioned that he said that he noticed, because normally if you see Ospreay backstage, he's quite like chilled and relaxed and like quite a nice guy, contrary to how we get on camera. But he does he's just quite chilled. And then if you happen to chance upon him planning a match, he's really focused and he's like really good and he's giving instructions really fast and stuff. And because it's another wrestler listening, they can just take all that on board straight away and they're like, yeah, we'll do that. But this all tends to happen. And then you'll occasionally see wrestlers. It's a really peculiar thing backstage at a show. You'll walk past a wrestler doing kind of this, like going through it in their head, and you're like, and Ospreay usually does that. Not too close to the match, but not too far before it either. This time before the Mysterio one, he was doing that for a long time. He was pacing, and Cleary said he's probably been planning this match since he was like 8. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And the coolest moment personally for me on the tour was I happened to be outside on my phone. They snuck out Ospreay and Mysterio and just started planning the match next to me, and I was just like, like this is such a historic moment, and I was like the only one there, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. But I listened to about half of it, and I thought, I'm going to go inside now. I don't want to hear the rest. I don't want to spoil the match for myself.
Do you think that the only thing that made wrestling Rey Mysterio better for Will Ospreay was the fact that while he was planning the match of his career, you were there?
His biggest rival was there, his nemesis. No, I don't think that for a second. I don't think they even noticed that I was there.
I very nearly interrupted them. I walked backstage to get some posters signed from the both of them. And as you say, they were going through it. And I thought, maybe not the best time to do this. I just went, I'll get you guys later. I don't want to be like, sorry, can you stop planning this like amazing match and sign some posters
I get it.
for me?
Hurricane Rana,
Wait,
but like...
we all know. They planned it in front of you as well?
No, I think they were sitting down to plan it, and then they probably left. They probably went outside because I was there. They probably went, let's go outside and get away from him.
Just following them
guys,
with posters.
You've got 50 more posters to sign, guys.
I feel so betrayed. I thought they just did that for me. Never mind.
I've got some fan questions for you now, as we always do here.
Love the fans.
On this week.
Big fan of the fans.
Anything for Twitter.
Give us your questions.
Come on.
WCPW questions you most want answered.
Indeed. Now, coming out of Stacked, which was, of course, the first show that we did, the big talking point going into the pre-show was who's going to be the 6th person invited to join the Prestige. That turned out to be Will Ospreay, and... obviously, we saw what happened there. We saw what happened at the end of the World Cup with not only Ospreay and the Prestige, but also B. Priestley, Kushida. MT22 on Twitter, who is a big Will Ospreay fan, wants to know your thoughts on the potential of a Joe Hendry versus Will Ospreay feud in the future.
Well, Will Ospreay obviously offered the chance to join the Prestige. He enigmatically refused, for which the Prestige then did what they did at the World Cup final. And I'd say that obviously we haven't seen Ospreay unloaded as yet, nor have we seen Hendry. Both characters are set to appear on this week's episode of Loaded, and that's all I'll say.
Okay. Jack, thoughts?
Yeah, that's all I'll say. I was going to try and be mysterious and be like, yeah, I can't say anything either, but I'm just confused about the structure of everything still.
Just not sure what to say.
Not sure what's aired yet and what's not.
We've already had quite a few accidental giveaways on This Week in WCPW, so I'm wording my questions very carefully. Jordan Schofield, in relation to this, I suppose, as well, says, given what happened at the end of the World Cup, Kushida versus Hendry for the title in the future. Is that something you'd like to see? Is that something that could be feasible? Or?
I'd like to see that, but we are building up to, I believe, Destruction in New Japan as the next pay-per-view, and schedules over there get kind of manic when it's the road to whatever shows.
Yes, indeed.
And I think, who's Kushida's next opponent in New Japan? Who's the next challenger for the belt?
I'm not sure.
Oh, who is it? Oh, I can't even remember. I don't know if he's got one at the minute. Might be Bushi again. I don't know.
Okay.
But
he might be busy, but I'd love to have him back if possible.
Yeah, I suppose as a dream match, it is something we'd love to see.
Pachi laughed at me for shaking Kushida's hand.
Congratulate him on a good match, didn't
Kushida
you?
came out the back after a match, he was all like... And he walked past me, and I didn't want to just blank him as he walked past. It's Kushida. Yeah. So I shook his hand and was like, oh, well done, man. And he walked off, and Pachi went, he did his high-pitched laugh, his real one. When I was like, what? He's like, Jack the Jobber, congratulating Kushida. I was like, what's he on about?
I mean, it is like the, just you know, Kushida and Jack the Jobber finally meeting for the first time.
It was always a big moment.
Yeah.
It was always going to happen.
Feel this moment.
Fire and
It's
ice
like-
finally combined.
It's like when Rock and Hogan stared down at WrestleMania.
Once in a lifetime.
It's great.
You weren't the only one who had a run-in, let's say, with Kushida, because I think it might have been the last show. It might have been Newcastle, but Cleary got Chelsea to spear him backstage, and Kushida had walked round to get ready for his match, and Cleary realised that he'd seen it and tried to get him to chant "Holy sh, holy," and Kushida just sort of went.
Oh,
He got a nod. He got a nod of approval.
That's the worst thing since it's Page, isn't it? That's the worst thing since that. Oh, Cleary. Let's add that to another list of his backstage friends.
Another fan question, Bram. We sort of covered this, but definitive answers. Personal favourite match of the World Cup.
Of the World Cup.
We had a vote actually on WCPW's Twitter, and I think it was Bailey Ospreay.
I think it was Mysterio Ospreay that won the
It might have
Twitter
been.
poll, wasn't it? Oh, that was the...
Well, certainly, I think Ospreay was like the top 4.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
I really liked Kushida Ospreay.
I was gonna- that's my answer.
Bailey Ospreay. I think just in terms of because no one really expected it as well, which is half of the joy in this kind of tournament. But yeah, Bailey Ospreay. But I thought the world final was really, really good.
I really liked that, especially the bit with B. I really thought it was proper, like, old school Attitude Era drama. Not overblown, just a little bit. Something's going to happen. No, it's not. Like, he's going to... And it really cemented his face turn. But I saw a few mixed opinions about it online, and I thought it really worked, and it actually added to the match.
Yeah, I think so long as it didn't actually, as you say, play into the ending of the match and shenanigans.
If she had interfered, then I would have disagreed, but yes. I'd just quickly like to say as well, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Jay Lethal was
Oh, yes, we've got to
fantastic.
mention
Yeah, really good.
Really, really good.
I mean, that show in Milton Keynes was wall to wall. Like, I loved Penta versus Bad Bones. The whole night. The whole night was amazing.
Yeah, Penta was unreal throughout those shows. I really sort of... The first time I saw him, I didn't realise who he was, obviously, because he doesn't walk around with face paint and contact lenses.
All right, mate, can you just get out of the way, please?
Yeah.
I'm quite busy.
But yeah, we should mention, the Jay Lethal, Zack Sabre Jr. match.
Do you want to hear an embarrassing story about Adam Cleary?
Another one?
Yeah, I know this one.
Oh, I know this one, but yes, do tell
so
it.
good.
All right.
Why do we let him backstage? It shows us-
So Adam Cleary, perhaps reasonably, as you're saying, didn't immediately recognise Penta El Zero Miedo.
You can recognise Rey Mysterio without his mask on. You're like, that's
Yeah.
Rey Mysterio. You can't recognise Penta at all.
No, so Adam Cleary does what he does backstage. Like, he is he sort of project manages.
He's Littlefinger.
Yeah, he's running everywhere, doing everything for
love that.
everyone.
He's Littlefinger.
And he's running around with wristbands, like the things for... So to note that you're part of the crew, part of the show, for the people who may not be watching wrestling who are running the security. And he hands some to... he sees that the guy playing Penta is part of the show, and he hands him a bunch of wristbands, and he runs across Rey Mysterio and says, "Oh, hey, Rey, I'm just handing out wristbands. Your pal over there has got them," thinking that Penta El Zero Miedo was one of Rey Mysterio's entourage.
Just his lads.
Just one of his Mexican friends.
There's an Ali G interview where he interviews Shaquille O'Neal and Dwayne Wade, two of the biggest, most famous basketball players, and he goes, "My man Shaquille O'Neal, is this your +1?" It's just like, it was that, but real. Like, oh.
Your friend over there, your pal over there has got.
To come back to the Jay Lethal Zack Sabre Jr. match for a brief second, though, yeah, I think not only did all of us enjoy that, especially the armbar spot from the Lethal Injection, but listening back to it with Dave Bradshaw's commentary is a joy. Dave,
What was the noise he made?
I don't know. I've never heard him make that noise before.
Something along the lines of, "Oh!"
It's so excitable, but that's what I like about Dave, is he sort of personifies how we're all reacting most of the time to the matches.
Yeah.
My favourite Dave moment of the whole tour was when the Prestige was smashing up the trophy, and Dave did the best fleeing in terror of the... Like, he just left his commentary station and just went, oh, like, proper, like, great. And then Kennedy followed, just like, nothing to do with this. Like, it's great. Kayfabe's alive, lads.
Angus King, this is an interesting one, not related to our shows, but something I would like to mention. There's not a lot we can talk about here, but opinions on Joe Hendry showing up with the title in ICW. Was that a surprise? Is that something that is beneficial? Is it nice to see sort of other promotion, a nice crossover as we had with
I mean, are you sure it was our belt? Because that wasn't clear from the footage.
They did a really good job of really masking what felt that way. I think it's a cool story.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, it was a surprise. I wasn't sure. I didn't know it was going to happen, but I was thoroughly entertained by it. He's very proud of that belt, and rightfully so.
You know what they said on commentary as well? They went, "That's the championship." And yeah, you're right. It is. It's the championship. He's right.
Do you think there's a potential for him to defend it there?
Watch the space.
Okay.
I'd quite like that, to be honest. That would be quite a good story.
And the final fan question I did want to mention is from Ross Chaplin. Always comes up with great questions. Will there be a World Cup next year?
Is there a football World Cup the year after the other one? Is there?
No.
It's once every 4 years.
So that's what we got.
You've done your research. Did you Google
so
that before
European
you came
Championships in 2 years' time.
Is there a Rugby World Cup every year?
No.
There you go then. I don't know.
There was a TNA World Cup every year back in the mid 2000s.
That says a lot, though.
I'd say we haven't made that decision yet. It was a lot of admin and a lot of money. It was a great success, and like the vast majority of the fan reaction to it has been when's next year's. But we shall see. That is a decision yet to be made.
I think we'd like to, but yeah, like you said, there's a lot of things to be sorted prior to that going ahead.
Ideally, I'd like to do it once every 2 years, but it's pretty much every wrestling tournament happens annually. We'll see how it goes.
One final thing I did want to mention, actually, because we failed to mention him aside from in passing, was the appearance of Jack Swagger on Saturday in Newcastle. Great to see him there, and a good match with him between him and Joe Hendry as well, because it'd been built up for quite a while. The social media feud.
Oh, years in the making.
He said Joe was the softest man he'd ever felt.
He did.
Well, it's just liked it.
Are you trying to engineer a match with you and Jack Swagger?
Not at all.
Don't.
No, he's so large.
Jack the Swagger.
He's so large, man.
Yeah.
Like, we were always surprised by WWE guys and how tall they are.
He's taller than you, right?
Oh yeah, he's huge. We shot there's actually going to be 2 interviews going up on Extra, extended interviews, about half an hour in length. Did one with Rey Mysterio and one with Jack Swagger, talking about everything, every aspect of their career, what's going on with them right now, what potentially could go on with them in the future. And yeah, I think, like you say, you have a certain perception with WWE guys. You go, oh yeah, they're big, but I was thinking he'll probably be the same size, same height as me, I should say. Not only was he taller than me, yeah, he was about twice as wide as me.
How many Adam Wilborns are there in one Jack Swagger?
Oh, about 2.5, easily, very easily. And I'm just glad he didn't slap my chest to do the "We the People" at the end, because he probably would have caved it in. He is huge. He's a lovely guy, I should mention that, and he's very open, talking about his career, both currently and previously, obviously with the WWE. He's very open about that, so that's well worth listening to. But yeah, he is massive, and it was great to see him at a WCPW show. Going forward, should mention War Machine against Young Bucks at Refuse to Lose. You came out and announced that. How excited are you guys to see that? Because War Machine have been on an absolute tear recently.
Brilliant. 2 of Ring of Honor's best teams. Whether or not War Machine will be defending the tag team championships is obviously to be decided. But even as a non-title match, like it's mouth-watering.
Yo, can we get the Motor City Machine Guns in for me? Just for me.
Just for you.
I love
Is
the
that
Motor
what
City
I
Machine
always
Guns.
get it wrong.
Love them.
Chris Sabin
One
and
of
Alex Shelley. Big fans.
Of me?
Yeah.
All right. I'm big fans of them. I'm a big fan. Can we get the Motor City Machine Guns in, please?
Would you
That's a
come
good
out
point.
as their manager?
Oh, yeah. I'm cool. I can do that thing that they do. And then,
Who would you like to see come into WCPW? He's got Motor City Machine Guns. I'm going to have Paul London. I love Paul London.
He's great. CM Punk.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll have loads of money knocking around for that one.
Oh, Lindsay Dorado tweeted something today.
Oh no.
He tweeted Sammy Callahan saying, "How do you get booked on whatever?" And I thought, and then I did a quote retweet him, but if this is true, at WCPW, I'll manage him. But then I deleted the tweet because I didn't want him to get in trouble. I thought, I don't want to draw attention. What if it's a mistake and he meant to do it
You don't want someone to get
privately?
backstage heat for being associated with you.
Literally, I genuinely thought that might, because
Maybe. You are loathed in Stamford.
I'm not King Ross, come on.
Another one, I've just thought of, as much as I love to see Paul London, a brand I'd like to see come to WCPW.
right.
Now we've got a working relationship
Sure.
with WWE. Titus Worldwide, guys. So this week on WCPW, we have a tag team titles match between War Machine and Young and Leuven, and of course the fallout from Joe Hendry and El Ligero. This has been This Week in WCPW. My thanks to Adam Blompier and to Jack, and thank you very much for watching. We'll see you soon.